where we honor the rich tapestry of spiritual traditions, and where all are welcome to explore their own connection to the sacred. Whether you are here to seek, to remember, or simply be present, we are glad you've joined us. Welcome. I'm Reverend Leslie Runnels. I use she, her pronouns. I'm joined by Laura Prestwich as worship associate, and Maria Lundgren is helping out as well, learning the roles here. And we have Megan Smith on piano, Karen Baggett is our song leader, Harriet and Martha making all the AV and Zoom magic, and we'll also have Sarah Renee with us. She's our religious education coordinator. So we have a full house up here today. If you are visiting us for the first or second time today, would you raise your hands that we may welcome you? Hello. We're happy to bring the microphone to you if you'd like to introduce yourself, and if not, we won't. We're all about consent. You're good. Okay, thank you. But
There's another lady.
That mic to the AV people who will tell us who's on Zoom.
There was another lady. Nobody wants to talk. Okay.
On Zoom, we have Dan Phillips, Pat Harms, Happy Eubank, and Kari Matheson.
Hi, y'all. Thank you, Laura. Was there any other guests that wanted to introduce themselves? I want to make sure we didn't pass over. Just a couple of quick announcements today. We have a sign up for coffee. Coffee hour is a spiritual tradition in the Unitarian Universalist faith. It is how we get together and share stories, ask probing questions, tell what funny thing happened over the weekend. But we need people to help do it, so please sign up if you can. There's a sign-up sheet back there. November 6th, the Wednesday after whatever it is that's happening on November 5th, we're going to be holding some space here in the sanctuary and in the social hall. So if you want to come in and sit and revel in the good news, we'll be here. If you want to come and talk about things that are happening in the social hall, they'll be open for conversation. So from 8 a.m. to noon, and then again from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. So we can catch those people who have daily jobs, right? And also Samantha Simmons is our new office administrator. She just started this week, so you'll start to see messages from her. Sometimes they still say Rebecca, but Rebecca is no longer here. We are going to have a time when they can both come to worship service, so we can kind of like hand off the baton officially to recognize Rebecca's help that she's been with us for almost 2 years, I think. All right, and now we invite everyone in the sanctuary to turn off your cell phones, any noisemakers you have. Those of you on Zoom can turn off your camera. And now is your time to turn and greet each other and say hello. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes, this house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together.
Found together in a sacred space by Lorelei Greenwood Jones.
this sacred place. May we find what our spirits desire and what our spirits need. May we be grounded in love and sharing. The next part says, in this sacred place, may we find acceptance and consideration. May our actions and words echo what we learn here. And now let us speak these words as one. Come, let us worship together.
As we prepare for worship today, let us take a moment to acknowledge the people and spirits of this land who may have been displaced by European colonizers. Our church sits on land of the Nusiak and the Lumbee peoples. The Nusiak, from which the Neuse River gets its name, were possibly integrated into another tribe called the Tuscarora. They had to leave the area due to conflicts with English settlers and local rivals in the 18th century. The Lumbee, centered around the Lumber River further west of here, were recognized as a tribe in 1956 after Congress passed the Lumbee Act. However, they were denied any federal benefits and are still fighting for them to this day. We acknowledge the people and spirits of this land. And now I'd like to invite my friend Bella up to join us for our chalice lighting today. All right. The Balance We Seek by Sharon Wiley. The hours of day and night are in balance. In honor of earth-centered traditions that celebrate this time of year, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the balance we seek in our lives, the balance we seek in our hearts, and the balance we seek in this world. We also light our peace candle to remind ourselves that peace is a process that requires work. Peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. Now, please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 368. Payson's already singing. Now let us sing. Hard to follow that action.
I know. Okay, first we're going to learn the bottom line if you're looking in your hymnals at 368. And Megan, would you play that through it once and we'll join you? All right, let's sing that. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now from there, we're gonna, whoever wants to keep singing that, you're gonna have to refer to the hymnal if you want to remember the words. And the rest of us will go on to the other verses, but we're going to start with this again. 1, 2, 3. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid, and let us sing to the within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Good job. Good job.
Every week, we make space and time to be human and celebrate our joys and grieve our sorrows together. Should you wish to share a personal joy or sorrow about a person or persons in your life, there is a paper right here to fill out in place in the basket on your way to the chalice. Would y'all mind moving that over there to that little corner? It'll be back where I meant for it to be. After our ritual, I will read what you have written aloud to the congregation so that it can be held in community witness. But if you would just like to come up and pick up a stone and place it in the water, we will begin our stones and water ritual now. You can line up this way, and you can also line up this way, and you come together, and your stones may pass each other as you're placing them in, and that makes sense. I'll place 2 stones for our community concerns. As holidays approach, I know that feelings come up around the holidays, and some of you may be experiencing some grief, some loss, some anxiety. So I have a stone for that. And then also in recognition that the people of Palestine wake up each day to an ongoing genocide of the people and their culture. May peace find a way. And I have one to read from Karen Baggett. She's missing her sister Nancy on her first birthday away from us. She would have been 75 Earth years. This community witnesses your joys and your concerns, even the ones not spoken aloud or those that are just now slowly forming in your heart. May you know you are held in love, that you are not alone, whether you are in grief or celebration. We are here for each other. May you know love, may you know peace, and may you be safe. And now is the time for all ages when we invite our youngest ones up. If y'all would like to come cluster around up here, but make sure you can still see the slides. It is. I'm double doing it today. Testing, sounds good. All right, so I'm going to talk about pecan trees. Now, who here says pecan? Okay. Who here says pecan? Okay. Both things are true today, because I'm going to try, but. All right, so this is a pecan tree. How old do you think pecan trees get to be? 60? A few hundred? Anybody else? Trees get old, they do. So there is a tree in Mexico, a pecan tree, a pecan tree, that is 400 years old. And pecan trees are late bloomers. So that means in the springtime, when you see a tree that looked like it didn't have any branches on it, that's because it's a late bloomer. It's going to sprout out later than all the other trees. You have a question, Parker?
Did you know there's a tree that's so big it looks like a forest?
Looks like its own forest?
Air boots.
Oh, is that the aspen tree you're talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Is it panda?
All right, we're going to stick on pecan trees. All right, so pecans still are still in their green, the next one. Yeah. All right, so here they have this green husk that protects what's inside. So as those green husks get older in age, they open up like this. And then the pecan can fall out to the ground. So it holds them up there until they get good. Yeah, see, here they are. This is a pecan grove. Do you see all those pecans? All right. What is this? Squirrel. Squirrel. For all my ADHDers. What does it have in its mouth?
Pecan.
It's got a pecan in its mouth. What's he going to do with it? Bury it.
What else? What do you think you might do with that pecan? Do you know? Crack it open. Yeah. How's he going to crack it open? Is he going to take it to somebody so they can use a hammer to open it up for him? He's going to crunch it with those big teeth they have. But we can't do that. Okay, so don't do that at home. Don't try that at home. Because we don't have those enormously strong jaws of a teeny tiny squirrel. So the squirrel can crunch it hard enough to open up that hard shell. And then, yeah, he's going to eat it. What does he do when he buries it? What does that mean? Why does he bury it? Saving it for later, right? So, yeah.
But then he forgets where it is.
But then a lot of times they forget where they are. What do you think happens when they forget where they are?
It starts rooting and sprouting.
That's right. That's how pecan trees come to be. Is some squirrel put it in the ground, buried it, got a little ADHD, forgot about it, and that got enough light and enough water and the right conditions and warmth, and up it sprouts and it becomes a new tree. So what else do we do with pecans? What do we do with pecans? All right, but we can't open them with our jaws, so we use these different kinds of little crackers, nutcrackers, exactly, to open them up. Now, I have a friend who's a woman, and she will put 2 pecans in her hand and squeeze them together, and she will crack them. I see those of you knowing what that means, yeah? I can't do it, but she can. I think it's pretty impressive. But I use that thing on the right, and then I have a little pick to go in and get that kind of bitter part that's on the inside out. All right, next slide. So then we have pecans. Then what do we do with pecans later? Pecan pie. What else? What else might we make? Pralines. How about a nice salad? Anything else? Oh yeah, one more. Do you know what those are? They're called pecan sandies.
What?
Yep, they're called sandies. They got a little, that sugar dusted on top, makes them like sandy. No. All right. Okay, so that's all the exciting things about pecans I'm going to tell you right now. But there, you can see these long leaves that they have. That's one way you can tell a pecan tree. It's because you can see those long, that almost look like a willow tree, has those kind of long, droopy ones. All right, now we're going to be talking about pecan trees for a lot longer today. And today is the multi-generational worship service, so we're going to be playing with the kids all day today. You are precious. All right. Oh, she's happy. All right, thank you. You can return to your seats now. Some of the children got some word searches. Did anybody get a word search? Did Riley get a word search? Did you? I think, Parker, you got a word search, didn't you? So there's another thing you can do with the word search today to win a prize, is whenever you hear me say a word that's on your word search, you can highlight it. So the person with the most highlighted words will get a little prize at the end of the day. Not for adults. Well, if you're gonna, yeah, okay. All right, we are going to settle in just a little bit for a little silence and meditation. Let's take 3 long, deep breaths together as we center ourselves. Silence will lead us into the meditation, and music will lead us out. So 3 deep breaths. All right, good morning. So as Reverend Reynolds said, today is our multi-gen service. So if you've been with the congregation for a while, you know that in the RE class, we do something called a spirit play story. So I have made a spirit play story for you today to go along with our reading, which is called The Council of Pecans. So if any of the children do want to come back up, I know it's a lot of shuffling, but you can see the story a little bit better if you come closer. Hey, Hayden. All right, so the heat waves shimmer above the grasses, the air heavy and white and ringing with the buzz of cicadas. You can sit on the floor, just stand. They've been shoeless all summer long, but even so, the dry September stubble of 1895 pricks their feet as they trot across the sunburned prairie, lifting their heels like grass dancers. Just young willow whips and faded dungarees and nothing else, their ribs showing beneath narrow brown chests as they run. They veer off toward the shady grove, where the grass is soft and cool underfoot, flopping in the tall grass with loose-limbed abandon of boys. They rest for a few moments in the shade and then spring to their feet, palming grasshoppers for bait. The fishing poles are right where they left them, leaning up against an old cottonwood. They hook the grasshoppers through the back and throw out a line while the silt of the creek bottom oozes up between their toes. But the water hardly moves in the paltry channel left by the drought. Nothing's biting but a few mosquitoes. After a bit, the prospect of a fish dinner seems as thin as their bellies, beneath faded denim pants held up with twine. Looks like nothing but biscuits and red-eye gravy for supper tonight, again. They hate going home empty-handed and disappoint Mama. But even a dry biscuit fills the belly. And this is their house. The land here along the Canadian River, smack in the middle of Indian Territory, is a rolling savanna of grass with groves of trees in the bottomlands. Much of it has never been plow broke, as no one has a plow. The boys follow the stream from the grove to another grove, back up toward home, over here, place on the allotment, hoping for a deep pool somewhere, finding nothing, until one boy stubs his toe on something hard and round, hidden in the long grass. There's one, and then another, so many he could hardly walk. He takes up a hard green ball from the ground and whips it through the trees at his brother like a fastball as he yells, "Picanique, let's bring them home." The nuts have just begun to ripen and fall and blanket the grass. The boys will fill their pockets in no time and then pile a great heap more. Pecans are good to eat, but hard to carry, like trying to carry a bushel of tennis balls. The more you pick up, the more that end up on the ground. They hate going home empty-handed, and Mama would be glad for these, but you can't carry more than a handful. The heat eases a little as the sun sinks low and the evening air settles in the bottomland, cool enough for them to run home for supper. Mama hollers for them, and the boys come running, their skinny legs pumping and their underpants flashing white in the fading light. It looks like they're trying each to carry a big forked log hung like a yoke over their shoulders, and they throw them down at her feet with a grin of triumph. 2 pairs of worn-out pants tied shut with twine at the ankles, bulging with nuts. Thank you for listening to our story. Thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. I did not know what spirit play looked like. I think I might go to religious education classes. So that story, oh, that's the wrong one, hang on. Here it is. That reading, that story, comes from this book by Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. One of my favorite things about being a Unitarian Universalist is that we have a value or a principle around pluralism. And so we pull from many different sacred texts, and this is a sacred text now for me. I love this book. So Robin Wall Kimmerer is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. I first read this book as required reading in my very first seminary class, and the class was on religious naturalism. And I loved the book so much. And at first, as I started reading, I picked up my highlighter to highlight a passage, but I couldn't put that bright neon yellow ink down on her words. It just didn't feel right. I thought maybe a pen, maybe my purple pen would be okay. But as I went to underline her words, I still couldn't do it. I ended up drawing sweet little images in the margins near passages that I wanted to remember. A little strawberry, a heart, a tree, a smiley face, a flower, a spiral, or a little doodle. One of the boys in that story that we heard is Robin Kimmerer's grandfather. And she shares about how pecan nuts are loaded with nutrients that could sustain them year-round. And as long as the children had food and could stay healthy, they had a better chance at not being forced into the Indian boarding schools. But as the indigenous people were pushed farther and farther from their lands and their resources, they would be forced to give up their children to the government, who would force place them in these schools. The schools were typically run by Christian organizations with the intent of assimilating the children into European American culture. Children were forced to cut their hair, to stop speaking their native language, and their names were often changed to European names to both civilize and Christianize them. Conditions were harsh and sometimes deadly, and children were kept separate from their families. There are still some Indian boarding schools operating today, and there is even one in our Unitarian Universalist history. But these schools were not needed before Europeans came to this land and began colonizing. And the trauma from this forced relocation and assimilation still carries today. Now, I happen to love pecans, and I was delighted at the first house that I bought in the back was a pecan tree. I remember those first few years when there were hardly any pecans, and I thought, must not be a good tree. And then one year, as I walked across my backyard, I stubbed my own toe, and I looked down to find a pecan. And right next to it, 2 more, and then 3 more, and then as I widened my vision, so many. I was excited, and I started filling my hands, and then I started using my shirt. But again, as I would lean over to pick up more, some would tumble out. And so I ran inside and I got a basket and I gathered up heaps and heaps and heaps of pecans. I was very giddy and oh so excited. And then when I had finally gathered them all and my basket was full, I walked back to the house and I felt more under my feet. And I gathered many, many, many more over the weeks. It was a bounty. I put pecans in bags out on the sidewalk for neighbors to pick up because it was way more than I can use. I made a ton of pecan pie. I loved being able to share with my neighbors the fruit of my very own pecan tree in my very own backyard. And the next year, there were only a few. I was stunned. What happened? What went wrong? What is the matter with my tree? Who do I call? And I was telling a neighbor, and she said the pecan trees only do those big harvests every 7 years. I was crushed. I have to wait 7 more years? Phooey. But I did a little research and found out it's every 2 years. Huzzah. That's better. But another website said 4 to 7 years. And another said every 2 to 10 years. What is this? Why can't they all agree? It wasn't until I read Kimmerer's book that I got my answer. Science has been trying to figure out these bountiful harvests for a while now. They call them massed fruiting years. And they all agree that it is impossible to predict when the next mass fruiting season would be. The indigenous people used pecans to survive as subsistence, and then eventually they used them to barter and trade. This cash convertibility of wild pecans occurred during the Depression years of the 1930s. They were never used as a crop before. The lowest price was 4 cents a pound in 1932. Eventually, we founded sophisticated commercial operations for processing pecans, and we saw them as a cash crop. But these unpredictable seasons of feast and famine and boom and bust, these massed fruitings, made for challenging farming, and farmers wanted to find out why. How uncomfortable was it that they couldn't predict when there would have a mass fruiting? How hard for farmers not to know when there will be a surplus? How hard might it have been to want to control it and maybe even find a way to force the trees to a massed harvest? And we found out it's not just one tree that does a massed fruiting. They all do it. Trees are collective, not individual. And Kimmerer writes, if one tree fruits, they all fruit. There are no soloists. Not one tree in the grove, but the whole grove. Not one grove in the forest, but the whole grove across every parish and the state. The trees act not as individuals, but somehow as a collective. Exactly how they do this, we don't yet know, but we see the power of unity. What happens to one happens to all. We can starve together or feast together. All flourishing is mutual. That's the end of her quote. The scientists asked the indigenous elders what was up with the mass fruiting. And the indigenous elders told the scientists that the trees talked to each other. But scientists long ago decided that plants were deaf and mute, locked in isolation without communication. The conclusion was drawn that plants cannot communicate because they lack the mechanisms that animals use to speak. Sound fishy yet? I want to share with you a passage from an extract from the Journal of American Society of Horticultural Scientists. This is where I went to do some research. I want to be transparent with you, and tell you I don't understand all that I'm about to read, but I wanted to share it with those of you who are all sciencey and nerdy and biology-like, because I think you might appreciate it. Here we go. Anecdotal records over the past 400 years indicate that natural strands of riparian pecan are abundant and produce large crops of nuts at irregular intervals. It's easy enough. We're good. Get ready. Annual variation in fruiting by pecans in Texas indicate exceptionally high synchronous fluctuations typically occurred every 34 years, with a range of 2 to 7 years over the 66-year database examined. Synchrony in fruit production was inversely related to the spatial distribution of pecans, related in coefficients of variation, ranging from about 60 at the state level to about 120 for two 10-hectare orchards. These characteristics show that pecans exhibit masting and that the species warrants further examination vis-a-vis interactions with nut feeders. End of paragraph. That was fun, right? By the way, nut feeders means squirrels. That's the science word for it. What the study showed was that as squirrel populations fluctuated, so did the pecan production. The more pecans available, the more squirrels. The more squirrels, the more pecans eaten by squirrels, and the less pecans will stay in the ground and become seedlings, which is the whole point of the pecan tree dropping its nuts. They want to reproduce. And in nature's cycle, the more squirrels, the more foxes. As the foxes dine on pecan-fattened squirrels that are in abundance. Eventually, the squirrels become so few and far between that the trees now know it is likely that if they throw down a massed fruiting, there won't be enough squirrels to eat them, and the nuts will be able to make more trees. So that is one way that science was able to determine why mass fruitings were happening. But that had nothing to do with what the indigenous elders said about the trees talking to each other. And it didn't explain everything about the unpredictable massed fruitings. So they continued researching. And guess what they found out? The trees do indeed talk to each other. Science is now finally in agreement with indigenous wisdom. Trees release pheromones that carry messages of health and disease. So if a tree is being attacked by moths or beetles, it will send out a message to the other trees to protect themselves. And those trees can release chemicals that are unappetizing to those insects. Mutual flourishing. Scientists also found out about mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is on your word search, in case you need to know that. Mycorrhizae and their subterranean networks. These are a fungus which grows in association with the roots of a plant in a symbiotic or mildly pathogenic relationship. The tree roots share carbohydrates with the fungi, who then share water and nutrients from the soil back to the tree. And scientists are finding that these underground networks may spread messages from tree to tree. So the trees are talking to each other. They are communicating and listening to each other, because to the pecan tree, all flourishing is mutual.
So one of our lessons from Leslie today is about interconnectedness. And so that is one of our values as Unitarian Universalists. So I want to get your hand out. This is going to be your web. Everyone raise your hand with your web. And we're going to do little spiders so we can remember that we are all interconnected. The air that I breathe is the air that you breathe. The water I drink is the water that dinosaurs drank. The sun that we see is the same that our ancestors saw. And when you put your feet, your bare feet, onto the ground of the earth, we are connected to the entire Earth's electrical system. So we are all interconnected. So now for the children, we're going to be a fungus among us. We're going to pretend that we are the mycorrhizae, and we are going to send a message to our congregation, who is like our pecan tree. So I'm going to pass out some cards and some pencils, and you're going to work on your message, and we're going to share them during coffee hour. So, there you go.
Thank you, Sarah.
And you can draw a picture, or you can write a message. Up to you. Do you want to do it?
right, we have some little ones coming out of the back too. We humans also flourish mutually, but we still aren't up to our potential because so many of us aren't flourishing. While some may be flourishing financially, they may feel spiritually confused and lost, or some may be flourishing spiritually but can't pay for health insurance. These impacts keep us from thriving together. So how is our communication like that of the pecan tree? We recognize how important communication is, but we don't really have a clear understanding of how we communicate with each other. Researchers say that 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So what am I doing? Like the pecans, a lot of our communication is subterranean. We can't really see it, but we can feel it. Technology helps us communicate with each other too, but it also hides some of the important ways that we communicate, as we don't always visually see each other or even orally hear each other when we use technology for communication. Sometimes we don't even want to listen to each other. Have you ever tried to leave a voicemail for somebody under 40? They don't like it. They prefer something written in the tiny little box. I have to tell you, I have gotten that way myself. But we miss out on the fluctuations in our voices and our tones. How do you write a text that conveys wistfulness or vulnerability or trust? Perhaps there are emojis for that, I don't know. We have been communicated to by media and other systems of oppression. What messages have they taught us through these subterranean channels that we don't even know we have learned? We often communicate from a place of joy, a place of pain, a place of fear. Like the pecan trees, we may yell to each other, "I'm being attacked, protect yourself," because all human flourishing should be mutual. We want to take care of each other. And what do you think the trees might be saying to us? Perhaps it is time to listen to the trees and the wisdom of indigenous elders. The indigenous people told the farmers and scientists the answer, that the trees talk to each other. But we didn't believe it until we could prove it scientifically. What else have they told us that we don't believe yet? How will we learn to listen to their wisdom? May we find our way, and may love guide us. Thank you. Amen, ashe, and blessed be. I got lost. Aha. Please stay in your seat right where you are, and we'll sing together number 213, There is a Wildness in Your Mercy.
You might want to have your book open so you can follow the melody, and I'm going to ask Megan to play it through one time before we start to sing. There's a wideness in your mercy, like the wideness of our sea. There
Thank you, Karen. Today is our multi-gen service again, so I'd love to invite Riley and Parker to come up front for us to help us with the offering. Each month, the Social Justice Committee selects a nonprofit to share the plate with UCF. All non-pledge contributions in the collection plate or online will be split between the nonprofit we've chosen and UCF. For the month of November, we will continue to collect our annual holiday for our annual holiday activities by sharing the plate for our holiday gift bags. Now, Miriam Green's going to join us and tell us a little bit more about this tradition.
Good morning. In October and November, our Share the Plate collections focus on the holidays. October's Share the Plate collections go to Project Christmas Cheer, helping children who otherwise would receive little. That was October. This month, November, Share the Plate collections will go to our Holiday Gift Bag Project. For many years now, Unitarian Coastal Fellowship has given holiday gift bags to those in our community who are often left out at this season. These are primarily adults dealing with serious problems, including homelessness, addiction recovery, severe and persistent mental illness, development disabilities, and natural disasters. Last year, we gave over 100 bags. Ooh. We partner with the Twisted Sisters, a group that creates beautiful knitted and crocheted items, including gift bags, hats, scarves, and much more. The gift bags contain a holiday greeting card from UCF, items handmade by the Twisted Sisters, socks, and dental toiletries. Some of the gift bags include a Walmart gift card. This basket, pause. Wow. That basket will be in the social hall, thank you, every Sunday in November. Please donate your gifts of socks and dental toiletries. UCF Kids will help stuff bags for people with developmental disabilities on December 8th. Thank you for your joyous and generous giving. If you have any questions, see me or Susan Roberts or most anybody who has a social justice hat on. Thank you very much. Amen.
Thank you, Miriam. Please join us in blessing this offering with hymn number 402, From You I Receive. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you
Here it is. We speak our chalice extinguishing words in English and Spanish, and I will use call and response method to help you understand how to pronounce the Spanish version. We're going to do this all month long to become more familiar with the beauty of the Spanish language. Please join me in reading our chalice extinguishing words in English first. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now in Espanol, I'll say the first line, you repeat. Extinguimos esta llama. Pero no la luz de la verdad. El calor de comunidad. O el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. Hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.
And now, please rise in body or spirit as you are able for our closing hymn, number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. And y'all, let's do what the Spirit says do.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. Now go really soft. Spirit says do. Spirit says do. A little louder. Spirit says do. Spirit says do. Louder. Spirit says do. Spirit says do. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing, oh Lord. Got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Softly. Spirit says sing. 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 Woo! Got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance, oh Lord. Got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 To shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you've got to laugh, oh Lord. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. Softly. Spirit says laugh. 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 You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. Very softly. Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout. Spirit says
It is a tradition of this congregation to join our hands around the perimeter of the sanctuary. If you would prefer to stay in the middle to be surrounded by love and presence, please remain so. All right, we're getting closer. Oh, beautiful. Did we make it? Landon's reaching. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past and as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Go now in peace.